semuanya. I think we're going to start the workshop right now. Okay. Again, sekali lagi terima kasih banyak untuk semuanya. Selamat pagi. Good morning to everyone. My name is Amira. I'm the Education USA Country Coordinator for Indonesia, and I'm actually working inside the US Embassy in Jakarta. And I definitely would like to say thank you very much to everyone. Our partner here this morning, Universitas Airlangga, thank you so much for your support and having us to have this virtual workshop collaboration as like a first one, and hopefully we get more follow-up workshop following for this. Sekali lagi terima kasih banyak semuanya. Selamat pagi atas kehadirannya semua di sini. Untuk pagi ini kami berkesempatan untuk mengadakan virtual workshop berkolaborasi dengan Universitas Airlangga. Saya dengan Amira dari Education USA Country Coordinator Public Affairs Section di US Embassy di Jakarta. Untuk acara pagi ini, we have a workshop on the higher education partnership, which is one of the topic that we feel that it's been quite, I would say, one of a favorite topic for a lot of higher education in Indonesia, since the Minister of the Education, Culture, Research and Technology kind of like announced about the Campus Merdeka and internationalization for a campus throughout Indonesia. So at this point, like in the opportunity, we would like to kind of like have a overview and have like a basic like tips and tricks, like how you actually start a partnership with US higher education. While also this year, we've seen a lot of interest from our colleagues in the United States as well to be partnering or doing a collaboration with a lot of Indonesian university. So we're thinking that this opportunity is going to be a very good and very beneficial for every single one of us. And hopefully we're gonna have something, it's a very good impact out of this workshop that will be kind of like lasting about an hour and a half or 2 hours tops maximum. So let me introduce two speakers for this morning. I have Mary Trishak. She's the, hi Mary, good morning. She's the Assistant Cultural Affairs Officer at the US Embassy in Jakarta. Mary's portfolio is actually the Education USA and also a couple of youth exchanges, student exchanges program, and also covering for an alumni. And I know some names in this Zoom room. This actually an alumni for US school, which is yay. And we're really hoping that we have more US alumni joining us, or hopefully it's going to be an alumni very soon. And let me introduce another speaker, Professor Iman Harimawan, the head of Airlangga Global Engagement from Universitas Airlangga. Terima kasih banyak Pak Iman for supporting and collaborating with us this morning. We definitely would like to hear some of your best practices that we kind of like recognize. You've been having a couple of collaboration with US universities, and we definitely want to hear from Ibu Mary about you know, what tips and tricks and some suggestion and advice. It happened that Ibu Mary also worked as a international partnership portfolio. Deputy Director of Global Engagement. Yes, back in the UC Berkeley before she joined to the US State Department. So without further ado, let me introduce you to Ibu Mary, and it's going to be having a presentation as well. Okay, what is yours, Mary? Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Amira. And thank you again to Pak Iman and all of our friends at Airlangga Global Engagement Office for co-hosting this session this morning. I'm actually here in Surabaya, but meeting virtually with my friends at the university across the city. So my name is Mary Trishak. I've just arrived in Jakarta. I've been in the U.S. Department of State for about 8 years, and previous to that, as Amira mentioned, I worked at UC Berkeley, and I worked both with visiting scholars at the university. And also at an institutional level, helped the institution develop partnerships, MOUs, research agreements, visiting exchanges. And so I can speak today both from the Education USA, US Department of State perspective, but also happy to share some of my experiences from UC Berkeley, because I think that many of the challenges that we face at UC Berkeley and many of our partners at Berkeley faced are similar challenges to the challenges you're facing here in Indonesia today, particularly in light of this growing push towards internationalization of campuses and Campus Merdeka. So I'm going to share a short presentation today on some tips and tricks for establishing university partnerships. And so let me share my screen. All right, can everyone see? Great. And
Yes. Yes, we can.
yes, you can see. Wonderful. Let me see if I can find my controls. Where did they go? There they are, right there at the bottom. Okay, so again, I'm here today to talk about building successful university partnerships. First, let me talk a little bit about Education USA. I'm sure many of you have heard about Education USA. It's typically known as the Office of the U.S. Department of State that is in charge of promoting U.S. higher education for international students by offering accurate, comprehensive, current information about opportunities to study abroad through our Education USA centers, our advising services. We've been working for years now to give students information that is objective, that is free of charge, and that can really help them navigate the higher education ecosystem in the United States, which I think is quite different from the higher education ecosystem here in Indonesia and in most places throughout the world. We have over 4,000 universities and colleges in the United States, and trying to figure out which college or university to apply to, what the application process looks like. That's something that's very challenging for many students. I'm sure you've either had the experience yourself in applying for US schools or heard tales of exasperation and woe from students of yours as they're trying to figure out how to apply. So Education USA is here to provide services to help navigate that application process. What we're really trying to do is help students and institutions find their best fit. So we don't simply promote the top schools in the QS rankings. We don't promote our public schools only. We really want to showcase the wide variety of schools and institutions that we have in the United States. But we're here for more than just students. We're also here for the institutions themselves. So we have an extensive range of contacts of higher education institutes throughout the United States. These are institutions that come to our education fairs that we host several times a year here in Indonesia to recruit for students. And these institutions are also looking for partners. They're looking for institutions that have similar fields of study, similar research areas that they might be able to partner with. And so often we will get requests from international institutions asking, who can we talk to in Indonesia about this field or this project? So what can we offer you as Indonesian institutions in trying to navigate the US higher education ecosystem and find the partners that are the best fit for you in the United States? There's a number of different things that we at Education USA can provide. First, regional market overview, both for US higher education institutions, but also for institutions from the United States looking at higher education in Indonesia and trying to understand higher education in Indonesia as well. We do a lot of participant workshops, both for students, for graduate students, and others, also for faculty and how to write a good recommendation letter for their students. Sometimes in these program participant workshops, we have the opportunity to bring in recruiters or admissions directors from universities in the United States. And when they come, we can also set up networking sessions or meetings on the side if those institutions would like to chat with universities here in Indonesia or with just individuals here in Indonesia. We provide capacity building workshops for local universities, just like the session we're having today on higher education partnerships. This is the first one that we're doing in quite a while, and we hope that you find it useful. And we'd be happy to hear if you would like any additional capacity building workshops on this subject or any other subject related to US higher education. We'd be very happy to work with you to develop those workshops and share them across Indonesia. Well, program assessment and evaluation. If you're looking at a new exchange program, you're looking at a new partnership program and you're not sure if it will work, you're not sure what the visa requirements might be, you're not sure if there are any regulatory hurdles that you might face, you're always welcome to reach out to us and we can provide some advice, particularly in light of faculty and student exchanges and what visa challenges might be as you're developing an exchange program or a partnership program. And then again, we're always happy to create partnerships with high-level stakeholders. So we do sometimes have high-level visitors from US higher education institutions or the Department of Education come to Indonesia. And we're very happy to have them meet with the rectors of your universities and deans of your universities to have those conversations and start that partnership process with them. Okay, so now let's get into what IIE calls the 8 stages for developing partnerships. And I really like IIE's model here because I think it really highlights the amount of work that you need to do at the beginning to identify your goals and identify your strategy for developing a partnership. And it really highlights the amount of work that needs to be done at the base layer before you can finally get to that MOU, before you can get to the implementation. So we're going to go through these different stages today in detail. And at the end of the presentation, I'm happy to go back and talk about any of them if you might have specific questions. And IIE, the Institute for International Education, I'm sure you're all aware of it, has a number of other resources on their website. So I encourage you to go to iie.org at any time and look at the other information that they have on institutional partnerships. Okay, so stage 1. First thing that you need to do as an Institute of Higher Education is make an assessment of what your existing partnerships are. And I know that this sounds very, very easy, but is actually one of the hardest things to do. I worked in international partnerships at UC Berkeley for many years, and I can honestly tell you, I honestly had no idea all of the international partnerships that were constantly going on campus. Every day I would hear some faculty member, some department had some little exchange program set up that the chancellor didn't know about, that the international office didn't know about. There was something in there that was surprising every single day. And so this is something that it sounds very easy, but is very hard to do. So what are the existing partnerships that you have on your campus, and not just at an institutional level, but at the faculty level? Often we have faculty who are doing research together, who have met at a conference and are starting to collaborate on something, and it hasn't quite risen up to the department or institutional level yet. So really doing some kind of survey, doing an assessment basically of what the existing partnerships are at your university is a crucial key step, because it's these kinds of foundational exchanges or foundational connections that will really make your partnership stronger in the long run. Also ask, are your faculty and staff interested in more international partnerships? I know that the Ministry of Education has said everyone must be interested in international partnerships. But really you need to look at, do you have the infrastructure? Do you have the capacity? Which of your departments, which of your areas of research have that capacity in them to go out and build a new partnership? Some units have it and some don't. And so find the ones that have that capacity, have that ability, have that interest in reaching out overseas, and start with them. Look at, are there sufficient funds? Has your university set aside funds for student exchange, for faculty exchange, for hosting visiting faculty from the United States? Do you have funds available for travel? Do you have funds available for joint research? And if you don't have them available, then where can you get those sources? There's often external support for partnership development. And I think some of the places that you can look for this are, say, the Fulbright Foundation that hosts visiting scholar, that supports visiting scholars and visiting master's and PhD students every year, as well as brings visiting scholars to Indonesia from the United States. These programs are on hold a little bit because of the pandemic, but we're all hoping that very soon we'll be able to start again. LPDP, I believe, also has some funds under RISPRO, yes, for sending visiting scholars from Indonesia to the United States. This was something that China was very successful at doing through the China Scholarship Council. They were able to send many visiting scholars, many PhD students to the United States for a short amount of time through the China Scholarship Council funding. So look at sources of funding within Indonesia for that. The next thing that you want to think about is, what is the strategy? Like, why do you want to do internationalization other than the fact that everyone else is doing it and it sounds really cool and the Ministry of Education has told you you have to do it? But what are your goals? Is your goal that more of your faculty will have the opportunity to publish in international journals? Is your goal that you will be able to welcome more international students and faculty to your campus, or that more of your students will have the opportunity to travel abroad and have connections with international universities? Think about both your long-term and your short-term goals. And this is particularly important because it is those short-term faculty exchanges, research connections that will build the long-term programs that you're developing. What types of partnerships activities should be pursued? And we're going to look at a couple of different partnership models on the next slide. So we'll get back to that in just a second. And also don't forget a risk assessment. So, what happens if you have an exchange program or a new partnership planned and a pandemic strikes and you can't do it? How can you move it virtual? How can you take that funding maybe and move it to the next year? A risk assessment is always a good idea. And at the international office at UC Berkeley, we had the Office of Risk Assessment come in and look at all of our plans and all of our programs to make sure that we had plans in place on the off chance that something went wrong. Here are the kinds of partnerships that that I know you're all very familiar with. And from the US perspective, this is kind of from easy to hard. What is it easy to do for most universities in the United States? And where does it get really tricky and really difficult? So for easy, we've got joint research, joint lectures, and attending conferences. Basically, that's just movement of personnel. It's a little bit of money. It's not too difficult. Next, we have office-to-office partnerships, right? Something that doesn't involve the whole institution, but maybe is just, either a department or a research organization within your university that have agreed to do some kind of collaboration or some kind of exchange. Once we get into the exchange of actual personnel, it starts to get a little trickier, particularly because of US visa requirements and Indonesian visa requirements. And right now during the pandemic, that is, I think, probably one of the most challenging things is how do we get people to move with quarantines and with visa restrictions and with closed borders? And if you can't get them to move, how can you make those exchanges virtual and make those exchanges worthwhile in a virtual environment? Short-term study abroad programs are relatively easy to do. Take a group of 10 students, send them to the United States for a summer to do a tour, do some kind of research, maybe do a short course through a summer sessions program at a US university. Often there's very little tuition involved. The visas are relatively easy to come by. You can sometimes even do these kinds of programs on a tourist visa. So short-term study abroad programs or hosting study abroad programs from the United States at your university are some things to look into that are relatively easy. Visiting scholars and visiting faculty, sometimes this gets a little tricky if your faculty or your researchers want to be teaching overseas or want to have access to labs or research centers overseas. Sometimes you need a contract or an agreement for funding to share research facilities in the United States. And if you're teaching, you want to make sure that the accreditations are correct, and maybe a co-teaching of a class would be something that would be a workaround for some of the regulations. Institution to institution involving presidents. So I actually put this below the hard. I know sometimes it seems like institution to institution can be harder, but there are a lot of kinds of MOUs for general friendship, general cooperation that have to be signed in order for those office to office cooperations to be put in place. So at UC Berkeley, we did quite a few of these kind of broader international friendship kind of MOUs, but we always made sure that they had full faculty support and that there was a strong faculty program underneath those programs that would allow them to bloom. Many institutions in the United States will not do an institution to institution MOU or agreement without that very strong cooperation first at the bottom, at the faculty level. And I know that sometimes this is kind of the opposite of many universities overseas. Often universities in Indonesia or other places, you need the president to sign off on the MOU before you can do the faculty exchange or the agreement at the bottom. So the United States is a little bit opposite, and I'd be interested to hear your perspectives on those challenges. The harder kinds of things, any kind of joint research that involves contracts and grants and money and patents and those kinds of things, those are always a little bit more difficult, as are dual degrees, joint degrees, articulation agreements, transfer of credits, and any kind of trilateral or non-academic partnerships, such as partnerships with a US company or nonprofit. Often for these agreements, you need not only a risk assessment, but a legal overview of the agreement. And many US universities are very reluctant to enter into these kinds of difficult agreements without a very long-standing partnership at the office-to-office level, faculty level, department level, that has, kind of led up to this dual degree or joint kind of program. Stage 3, identifying your potential partners. So it's good as an institution to develop your partner criteria. And I think that it's very important to look not just at rankings, not just at, what kind of partnerships might be beneficial in terms of boosting the reputation of your university, but look at where you have existing connections. Where are your faculty already engaged? It was very interesting over the course of the last 2 days. I've met with many universities who have strong partnerships with University of Wyoming. University of Wyoming is not in the top 100 US schools in the United States. It's a very good university. It's a perfectly wonderful university, but it's not it's not on the LPDP list. It's not it's not going to top the QS charts anytime soon. But there are strong faculty connections, and because of that, those partnerships are able to grow. They're able to expand. So look at where you have that existing connection already, and then find both comparable and complementary partners. So look at partners who have resources that you may lack, or who have institutional programs that maybe you are missing on your own campus. So if you have something that they want and they have something that you want, and you can work together, you'll be able to have a very successful partnership. And also look, are they comparable? This is not necessarily in terms of rank and reputation. So if you are a small university in Indonesia and you have a partnership with Harvard, that's perfectly fine, right? Maybe you aren't comparable in terms of QS rankings, but maybe you both have very strong departments of linguistics, right? Or departments of archaeology. Are at the faculty level, are you doing comparable research? Identify common grounds and similarities. This is a kind of a given as you would develop your strategy. Do you have the same goals? Do they have the same goals? And then finally, identifying points of contact for partnership talks. This is something that I will tell you in the US environment is probably very tricky, because many of the international offices at US universities do not deal with international partnerships. They deal with international students. So they are welcoming international students to campus. They are doing that visa paperwork, but they are not developing those institution to institution partnerships. The international office at UC Berkeley doesn't want anything to do with an MOU or a research agreement. That was the Office of Global Engagement, where I worked for a while, and now it's at the Office of Graduate Studies. Many universities are similar. They are very disjointed and very scattered in terms of who is managing and who is in kind of in control of their international partnerships. And so as you are developing the idea for a partnership, go to the faculty at that university and they will be able to tell you where to go. And it's often, surprisingly, not the international office. So meet up with them in different places. Conferences are a great place to meet with people. When I worked for Berkeley, every year I went to NAFSA, and I met with many universities, both in Asia, even in the United States, in Europe, in South America, Africa, at the NAFSA conference. Spend the money as an institution to send your representatives to those schools or to those conferences so that they have the chance to network. And have a chance to listen to some of the seminars and some of the talks on building successful partnerships. I think that these are very, very beneficial conferences to go to every year. And then, as long as you're in the United States for NAFSA, tack on some trips and campus visits. Go visit universities. Maybe bring some of your faculty along with you, and give them the chance to meet face-to-face with some of the people they're doing research collaboration with. It's often better for trips and campus visits to start at that faculty level, to start at the department level and start talking about partnerships and programs there before you request the meeting with the chancellor or the president of the university. And finally, in the age of the pandemic, we're doing a lot of Education USA virtual networking programs. So we might have a university come in to give a talk to students, and we create a virtual networking program for them to meet with Indonesian partners here on the side. So if you're interested in these kinds of programs, please let Bu Amira and I know, and we'll make sure that you're invited. The signing of MOUs and MOAs. It's very important that in your MOU or MOA that your goals and the program elements are very clearly defined, and that you have a measure of success for your program. The best MOUs and the best MOAs that I ever saw at UC Berkeley were very clear in the number of exchanges that they plan to do, the source of funding for the exchanges, and the specific departments and faculty that would be involved in the exchange. It's good to have a time frame. You might want to sign an MOU that will last 5 years, but if your program is only going to be 6 months, just sign an MOU for the 6 months and then take time to reassess the program there. You might want to grow it. You might want to change the direction. And sometimes it's better to have a new MOU that will follow that program as it changes. Don't forget to have a legal review and your risk assessment. It's very important. Your US counterparts will be doing that as well. And then make sure for your MOU and your MOA that the level of signatory is appropriate, and that you have equity in terms of your signatories. So for example, when I worked at Berkeley, and I think for many institutions, any institutional program would be, agreement would be signed by the chancellor, but those would only be the programs that really affected the whole campus, right? It wasn't more than one department involved in the campus, in the agreement. Was it multiple faculty from across different departments? Or was it, if it's just for one department, then you might just need the dean to sign. And often, if it's for one department, only a US university president would not sign that agreement because it's very specific to that program. And I know that this sometimes also creates challenges because for many Asian institutions, the president wants to sign for that kind of legal cover. But make sure that there is equity in terms of the signatory. Finally, the last few stages here, with a well laid out strategy, the implementation of your program should be easy. So once you've done all the groundwork, once you've identified your goals, identified the right partner, thought about your time frame, thought about what you really want to do, it should be relatively easy to just take that next step and start the program. Your implementation plan should be clear and laid out. How many students will you start with? When will they start? What program will they go into? What kind of research will you start with? What kind of conference will you do together? Like what is the actual program that you're going to do? And be sure that you are assessing your program early and assessing it often to see if it's still working, to see if your faculty are still engaged, to see if your students are still going. I heard recently from a member of a university that there was a joint degree program that was in effect, but none of the students were going because it was too expensive for their students to go because they couldn't afford the cost of living and the location that the joint degree program was in. So they had done all of the work, but still had some work to do in terms of assessing how they might be able to get those students additional funding. It's great to have a joint degree program, but if no one attends, then maybe you need to think again about how you're going to change the program and shift it. And then you want to look at expanding. If the program is successful, if you have engagement at the faculty level, if you see that it's starting to grow by a department and grow to an institutional level program, by all means, grow it. You really want to look at where you have your current partnership activities and go from there, and go from small and focused to large and broad. So most universities in the United States, they don't want to start with the broad friendship agreement. They want to start with the faculty joint research or faculty exchange, and then build from there. And then maybe you have some or some courses that you're co-teaching or co-developing. Maybe you have a symposium that you're going to put on together. Maybe you have PhD students that you will start joint supervision of as the next step towards getting to that joint degree or getting to that dual degree. So that's where you really want to think about both your short-term goals and your long-term goals. So will this joint research project eventually lead to a joint degree? It might, but you can't start with the joint degree. You have to start by putting that foundation in place to make sure that that program is successful. Identify additional funding opportunities. Sometimes you have a program that's very successful and you are able to get more funding from it, either from the government of Indonesia, from an international source, or maybe it's a revenue generating program. Everybody at a university loves a revenue generating program, right? So that's something that you can also look at as well. And again, assess early and assess often, and chart your course and make changes based on how your progress has gone so far. So my final tips, and then I will pass it over to Pak Iman. The biggest tip that I have, and this is from my experience at UC Berkeley, is let your faculty take the lead in finding partners that are suitable, that are comparable, that have the resources and have the experience that they can work with and make partnership with. have SMART goals and specific deliverables. I think you've all heard of SMART goals, right? So is it specific? Is it measurable? Is it accurate? Is it realistic? Is it timely? So have goals that you can really assess to see if the program is working. Don't pursue a big name without a substantial proposal. At UC Berkeley, we got proposals all the time from universities saying, we want to sign an MOU with you. Great, what do you want to do? I don't know, something, but we want our UC Berkeley MOU. Okay, let's talk about what we're going to do first, right? Let's see what the progress is, and then maybe we can do an MOU. It's very interesting. Some of the MOUs that we had, some of the partnerships that we had at UC Berkeley were not with the big famous universities, right? They were not with the, the Tokyo universities or, the Cambridge universities of the world. I mean, we did have agreements with them and they were pretty good. But some of our more successful ones were led directly by the faculty. We had a fantastic exchange with the University of Azerbaijan, of all places, right? And we exchanged students and faculty every year, particularly related to electrical engineering. It was a wonderful program. It flourished. They got lots of research funding. It was a great program, but who would have guessed if University of Azerbaijan came to us and said, we want an MOU with you? First question is, where's the faculty support? If you have it, the program will be good. Identify key stakeholders on campus and invest in staff. It takes a lot of resources to make sure that a partnership is successful and make sure that it's on track. And you need to invest in the staff at your international office, the administrative staff who are going to move your faculty and move your students back and forth. And you need to have that investment in your capacity and infrastructure. Share information broadly. If you find out as an international office that your Department of Biology has an exchange with the University of Alabama, let the rest of the people at the university know, because someone in linguistics might also have a partnership with the University of Alabama. You never know. And then finally, work with Education USA and work with embassy stakeholders such as myself. We're always here to help. We're happy to share information and put you in touch with other universities in the United States that you might be able to partner with. The US government is committed 100% to building strong mutual understanding between the United States and Indonesia. And I truly believe that these kinds of foundational student exchanges, faculty exchanges, research partnerships are a way to build on that relationship. So let me know if you need any help. And thank you. That's all from me. I'm happy to answer questions after Pak Iman, but now I turn the floor over to you.
Thank you so much, Mary. Pak Iman, silakan.
Okay, terima kasih Mbak Mary. Could you please stop your thank you. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Bu Mary and Bu Amira. Good morning, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. It's my honor to be here today with all of you. Thank you for the work for everyone who support this event today. Basically, what we are doing in Universitas Airlangga is connecting the dot. Yeah, so how to connect government, not only government from Indonesia, but also government from US, and how do we work together. And also we work with the business and industry and other universities and also society. Prior to MBKM, Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka, we more focus on government, universities, and society. But after MBKM, we also encouraged by the government to more engage in business and industry. This is something that interesting that we need to have a good plan for the future on how to work with the business and industry, not only from Indonesia, but also from the overseas. Yeah. This is a brief introductions about Universitas Airlangga. Bapak Ibu, yeah, we have 15 faculties and 174 study programs. We have one school, which is postgraduate schools, and 6 campuses. We have nearly 42,000 students. and about 2,500 academic staff and also 2,000 non-academic staff. We also empowered by 42 student organizations to support our internationalization as well. Yeah, from the expertise, we divide our focus into 4 expertise. First one is related to health and medicine, and the second one is the natural science. The third one is we do also have engineering, but still we started to focus on engineering in the last 3 or 4 years. Yeah, and we also have business and also social sciences. For facilities, we have 4 hospitals. The first one is a university teaching hospital. We also have infectious tropical disease hospital, dental, and also last one, animal hospital. And we do have institute or center to support the research. This is only a few. And this is in the university level. And we do have a lot more in the faculty level. For the health science, we have Institute of Tropical Disease, and social science, we have Institute for Social Science, Humanities, and Business, and also Center for Environmental, Social, and Governance Studies. And for natural science, we have Institute for Biodiversity, Engineering, and Modification. And last one, Stem Cell Research and Development Center. And for administrative things, we do have several centers to support, including Erlangga Global Engagement. We also have Healthcare Center for students, and we have Career for Entrepreneurship and Development for the students to prepare them before they go to the job market. And we have publisher, Erlangga University Press, and Student Admission Center. We do have Startup and Incubation Business Development. Erlangga Global Engagement also involved in connecting the startup and incubation business development with overseas institutions, including NUS Enterprise. They do have Block 71, and they also have a branch in the US. And also we have Board of Cooperation and also Development. And last one, we have Institute for Research and Community Development, which support our research activities. Yeah, this is our performance today. We are ranked 465. We are within top 500 this year. In Indonesia, we are ranking number 4 based on the Ministry of Education ranking and also based on the QS ranking. In Southeast Asia, we are number 19, and in Asia, we are number 113. And we aim to enter top 100 next year in Asia. Yeah, this is one of our goals this year. Yeah, and in terms of the by subject categories, our law faculty rank between 251 to 300, and also business and management study, we are top 500, and for medicine, we are top 600. And we do have, based on the other rankings for the World University ranking, our law studies are top 300, clinical health top 600, and business economics top 600, including social science and life science, and our physical science is within top 1,000. Yeah, this is what we have with US universities up to now. We attended several activities, exhibitions, such as European Association for International Education. We met some US universities over there, and we start our engagement starting from the meeting. Yeah, we have strategic meetings, and we plan the strategic meeting, and finally we have one collaborations like MOU and also the implementation agreement with some US universities from this activity. We also attend NAFSA. I think Bu Amira met with Bu Dina and also Bu Dian in NAFSA, and we have collaboration here. And also we attended several exhibition hosted by QS Apple and also the Asia Pacific Association for International Education. Yeah, from these meetings, we started the collaboration with US universities. This is one way how we initiate the collaboration with them. And from that meeting, we initiate the strategic meeting. In 2019, we had a meeting with MIT and University of Iowa. And 2020, we have networking lunch with Education USA, and also meeting with Temple University in 2021. Hopefully in the 2020, we do have several others meeting with other universities and also business or industries. For the international hub, we have American Corner in the USA since 2008. Yeah. And for the for the collaboration between Universitas Erlangga and Education USA, for this year, we had 5 collaborations activities. The first one for the scholarship and alumni sharing session. It was in 1st March 2021, and we did 3 global writing clinic during June. Yeah, and I believe we are going to have another one to prepare our students to apply for ISMA, Indonesian International Mobility, Student Mobility Award. Yeah. And also we do have international workshop. It was in 19 November. Now is, I think now is this is the event for 19 November 2021. Yeah, and here are the list for the cooperation with the institution in US. We had the MOU and academic collaboration with University of Massachusetts Boston. And we have MOA with University of Rhode Island, and we have MOU with the State University of New Jersey, and also with Family Health Institute International North Carolina, and University of Iowa and Illinois State University. And for non-universities institution, we have collaboration with Crimson Interactive and also Clerical Analytics. And especially for number 6, I've in charge personally with Illinois State University. I've been invited as the visiting fellow in 2019. I did research collaboration with one of my colleagues at the Illinois State University. It's been a good journey in US. It's about 2 weeks there. And up to now, we've published about 6 international publications together with my colleagues from the Illinois State University, and more than welcome to enlarge the collaboration with other researchers in the US. And this is our top 10 collaborations with the university in US based on our data set. Yeah. We had about 53 publications with Baylor College of Medicine. Yeah, it's supported by 35 of our individual co-authors from Erlangga. So it means that one author from Erlangga could have more than one publication with co-author from Baylor College of Medicine. With Harvard University, we had 44 publications, joint publication with co-author from Harvard, and from Johns Hopkins University, we have 31, and with some other university. Yeah, we still have some other university that we only pick the top 10. And I think from this collaboration, we can start having more formal agreement with them. So basically, we go back and forth. We can initiate the collaborations we can plan our collaboration based on our targeted universities, but at the same time, we can analyze what we had previously. I think today it's easier for us because there are so many databases that provide the data about research collaborations. Yeah, even in UNER, we don't have that comprehensive data set about what our faculty did with other university, but using the data set like the Scopus or Skyfall or other data set, we can easily trace what was our performance with the US university based on research collaborations. Yeah. So starting from this data, we start talk with our co-authors from UNER, with the faculty from UNER, and start to make a strategic plan on how to strengthen the existing collaboration with the US universities, and also to check what is the potential collaboration. Because, for example, let me pick an example, one research collaboration with Harvard University. I believe that co-author from UNER is not only writing a paper with someone from Harvard University. It must be a consortium, which is they can connect with each other. For example, like if Erlangga Global Engagement have a plan to connect with the, let's say, Chicago University, we can start from this one. Yeah, we analyze the past performance. If there are some papers that already have a collaboration with University of Chicago, we start from our faculty to connect, to help us connected with the University of Chicago to have more collaborations. Yeah. And for the student mobilities, we have several activities for student outbound. Yeah, hopefully with ISMA, yeah. So we will have more collaboration in 2022. For your information, last year, the Indonesian government provided a scholarship for about 1,000 students to go overseas. It's a package under ISMA program, Indonesian International Student Mobility Awards. And we have secured for Universitas Erlangga 52 students. So it means that 5.2% it's contributed by Universitas Erlangga. And we sent about 4 students to US institutions like University of Pennsylvania, UC Davis, and also MSU. And this year, next year, we heard that there will be 2,000 students will be funded by the ISMA program to go for overseas. That's why this month we provide scholarship for 535 students of UNER to do the English test like a TOEFL, IELTS, and also Duolingo. Yeah, we provide scholarship for about 500 students to prepare for the ISMA for next year. And we have exchange programs in 2019 and also Congress. We attend Congress, our students, and also our students attend the conference in 2016. And for the student inbound, we have about 15 students from Miami-Dade College, 2018. And if I remember correctly, we are going to have to receive students from Illinois State University, about maybe 20 students next year in May. I think our staff, Astria, is preparing the event for next year. And for staff mobility, we have staff outbound. We've sent some students, some staff to attend the conference from in New Jersey, and also in the meeting for the global tobacco control, and also we have staff outbound as well. And for staff inbound, we have a guest lecture from Rutgers, and also University of South Florida, USCDC, Columbia University, and University of Washington. We hope that we will have a more collaboration, especially with the popularity of online meeting. The border become we are become borderless. So hopefully we will have more collaboration with institutions in the US for the guest lecture. Yeah. So basically, this is our products that we are trying to offer to our partner in the US and also all over the world. what we call international programs. Yeah, we offer tailor-made programs. Yeah, so basically, if any universities overseas and like the one that we are going to have with Illinois State University, they can inform us. Yeah, the plan to visit Erlangga, and we will arrange everything. We will provide the meals, airport transfers, and also accommodations. And for the program, we can help them to arrange the programs. We did with some universities in the New Zealand and some other countries. Yeah, and this next year we are going to have with U.S. University. And the study period it's between 1 to 2 weeks, and for the transfer credit is about 8 to 12 credits, and we can provide the transcript, certificate, and also field trip and cultural trips to for the complementary for the event. And we do have the video conferencing with Universitas Erlangga, what we call Dekota. Yeah, or we can call it the academic lectures. So basically, this is we offer to the professor or senior associate professor and also assistant professor to deliver a speech in Erlangga online. Yeah, so basically the duration is about 2 to 3 hours, and each scholar can do maximum 2 sessions. Yeah, and we have agreement with the scholars to provide the lecture for Universitas Erlangga. It can relate it to academic, it can also relate it to research. And starting from next year, we are also going to invite from professional side. So we have so many scholars that are also participate in the industry. So we are going to invite more that type of professor to join our lecture to help us to bridging the university to the industry as mandated by the MBKM, Merdeka Belajar Kampus Merdeka. And this is what we had so far. We have the guest lecture from the Missouri Valley College, University of Miami, University of Pennsylvania, North Carolina, State University, and University California, San Diego. Yeah, the challenge is the time difference. Yeah, but usually we had it. Sometimes we had it in the morning, which is still evening in the US, or sometimes we had it in the evening. So it depends on the discussion. Yeah, and we also offer Erlangga postdoctoral programs for the early career researcher. Yeah, so we offer to the like research collaboration is only for 3 months programs, and we can do it online and also offline. And for the research collaboration, we offer several schemes. We have scheme with top 100 university. We have a research scheme with top 300 university. This is based on QS ranking. And we have a specific scheme with the top 500 universities and also over 500 universities. Why do we divide it into the programs into this one? So it helps us to analyze our diversity in terms of the quality of the university. But I believe that every university have the uniqueness, but this is only for helping us to analyze for our mapping to support the achievement of our performance in terms of ranking. Yeah, our homework. Yeah, so hopefully we can work in the future is how to empower our alumni. I have a list of data of alumni from Universitas Erlangga which working in US. I think it's about 90 or 100. Yeah, some of them working in Apple and also Massachusetts General Hospital and Comcast. And hopefully they can also support us with the support from the US Embassy to be connected with the business and industry in the future. Yeah. This is our social media, so you can get connected with us through the social media. And I think that's what I have, Bu Amira. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Iman Haimaban. That's a very, very thorough and very descriptive of what Erlangga has been doing, and I think it's kind of like really referred to what Mary said previously, that you need to kind of like really identify, learn from it, and to see where it actually works or not. But it's been great, and I think that's why we're doing this collaboration program this morning. Itu jadi kayak we're kind of like really complementary each other, like what Mary mentioned it before, and what we've seen that Unaire's been implementing that for a while now, and obviously some of them are working, some of them are not, and we're really hoping that's going to be more to follow after this, and not only from Unair but also from our other colleagues in US, and I'm sorry, for the Indonesian HCI that's actually joining us in the Zoom program this morning. So again, terima kasih banyak, Professor Iman and Mary. So I think we're going to be opening up for a Q&A session for now. So please raise your hand or just unmute yourself, and we're probably going to help you out if you have any question in the chat as well. Silakan Ibu Bapak, kalau ada pertanyaan bisa saya bantu moderate untuk baik itu Ibu Mary atau Profesor Iman. Oh, silakan Ibu Anggun, silakan ada pertanyaan untuk Ibu Mary atau Profesor Iman, silakan.
Ya, terima kasih Bu Mira. Salam kenal. Hello everyone. Warmest greetings from Semarang. We are from Universitas Diponegoro. It is a sunny day here with still 32 degrees. Bu Mari, if you notice, definitely not autumn season at the moment here. So, Bu Amira, we only have one question at this moment for Ibu Mari. So, Bu Mari, you mentioned about thank you very much for your graph mentioning about the comparisons or the grade between prospective collaborations from the easiest to the hardest. It has taken our attention onto the joint PhD supervision. You encourage us to do so before establishing the double degree or dual degree program. At this time, we would like to ask your advice regarding the legality in the American institutions policy about the joint PhD supervision or joint supervisions. How we gonna legalize it? I mean, do we need to submit certain documents because why it took us quite a bit in attention, because we thought that we need to establish the collaboration on the dual degree first before continuing on to the joint supervision, but it is highly recommended the other way around. So yeah, can you please give us the insight on it? Thank you. Makasih Bu Amira.
Sama-sama, terima kasih Bu Anggun. Mary.
Yeah, so I think that there's a variety of different ways that you could set up joint PhD supervision that go from very informal to very formal. So one of the things that we saw at Berkeley that was very helpful was that as faculty were collaborating on things, their PhD students were also sharing research with the faculty collaborators. And there was a lot of informal advising that was going on between the international partners and the PhD students at Berkeley, or vice versa, the UC Berkeley faculty and the international PhD students. And And it's that kind of like informal advising, informal supervision that is a good place to start. If you already have two faculty that are working together on a research project, there's a very strong chance, correct, that their PhD students, their candidates are working on similar kinds of projects, and that each faculty would be able to offer advice, offer guidance, mentoring on the research of the student. So you can start at that kind of lower level of just informal mentoring and advising. So it's very difficult to say what the specific regulations are in the United States, because every university, every type of institution has different processes for establishing who is able to be listed as a committee member, say, on a doctoral committee. When I was working on my PhD, I had an informal advisor on my committee who wasn't necessarily listed on my committee, wasn't overseeing my qualitative exams, but was there to offer advice and offer kind of informal mentoring for me. But there was a mechanism, if I had wanted that individual to be on my committee within my institution, to request that without a dual degree program, without any kind of formal mechanism. It was a bureaucratic paperwork process that you had to go through at that university. But every university is different in the United States. And so that is where the challenge, I think, lies for a lot of international universities that might be more heavily regulated by say, government of Indonesia, or by the Ministry of Research or Ministry of Education. So I think the best way to start is really looking at where your faculty have those exchanges, looking at what kind of informal mentoring is already going on, and then looking at that university, talking to their vice chancellor of research, talking to their chancellor of graduate studies, to see what kind of formal mechanisms can be put in place to have that kind of mentoring be formalized within the university. And I think it's those kinds of connections that can eventually lead to the establishment of either a joint degree or a dual degree. And it was my experience at Berkeley that often it was easier to do the joint degree, because each institution would have its own requirements, right? So you weren't agreeing on this is the requirements from both institutions for this degree. It was, you do all of the work for this program and all of the work for this program, and you come out with 2 degrees. And hopefully they're pretty compatible, and hopefully they mix. But if you met all of the requirements for, say, UC Berkeley, but you didn't meet all the requirements for Tokyo University, at the end of the day, you would just get the 1 degree, not the 2, right? Whereas a joint degree is much more difficult, because you have to have the department agree that all of the course requirements are okay, and often you also have to have the institution say that they agree to it. So there are a lot of different levels that you can implement that kind of joint advising, joint research, joint supervision, that don't necessarily have to be formalized into a joint degree or a dual degree. It's also relatively easy for PhD students, graduate students, to do to get visiting scholar status at US universities. They can do that through the J1 visa mechanism. They have to have support and funding from their university and a host faculty member. But one of the things that we did a lot at Berkeley was host PhD students for a semester to do research with a US faculty member. And they often didn't take courses, so they wouldn't have to pay a full tuition. They could audit courses. They wouldn't get any credit for them, but they could audit the courses. And at the PhD level, the issue of credits is maybe not so important as it is at the undergraduate level. So that's another way that you could kind of have that joint supervision or joint work on for PhD students. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
Yeah.
And thank you very much. That's that puts ease on us, because we thought that it has to be formalized before we start on things. And it would be great if the collaborations can be starting from this informal or the joint supervision, probably from the lecture level. Like some of our lecturers are graduated from MIT, for example, in the engineering faculty. So yes, we will definitely disseminate this information. And yes, as Dr. Iman mentioned earlier, due to the great encouragement from the Indonesian government, now we have ISMA program. And yeah, we are very happy to learn about that. And here, as Bu Mira mentioned earlier as well, that lots of familiar faces here in this meeting. There's Bu Suryani, Bu Dina, and yeah, the ISMA students, some of us are going to Boston, Penn, and Michigan as well. Okay, yeah. Bu Mari, thank you very much. I wish to have further contacts afterwards, and I wish Bu Amira wouldn't mind if I'm gonna bombarding you with contacts afterwards as well.
Silakan Ibu Anggun. That's really the idea.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Bu Mari, Bu Mira. Yes, back to you.
Makasih, Bu Anggun. I think we have another question in the chat from Ibu Ambar UIN Sunan Kalijaga. So it's actually for Mary. The question is, what are your suggestions if we want to increase international student enrollment, particularly from the USA, to our university? Which one is easier enrollment for? Is it for the undergrad or the postgraduate students?
Addressing this as like as a fully matriculated U.S. students or exchange students, because there's a little bit of a difference, I think, between that. And so should I go with like fully matriculated students? You would like them to come and do degree programs here in Indonesia? Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Okay. So at the undergraduate level, I think one of the challenges will be, are your programs offered in English? And will the programs, once they graduate from the program here in Indonesia, will that degree be recognized in the United States, and will it carry the same weight as, say, an undergraduate degree from a U.S. institution? And that's something for the student to consider as they're thinking about what they would like to do after their graduation. If they are just hoping to do an undergraduate degree and then go get a job, then it's usually very easy, I think, to get an international degree and have that recognized in the U.S. for job seeking purposes. It's a little bit trickier, I think, if they wanted to go on to graduate school or a PhD program in the United States. I think the university in the US would have to have a very good understanding of what the requirements were for that undergraduate degree here in Indonesia. It's also, there's not a huge amount of international mobility at the undergraduate level in terms of students going overseas to pursue degrees in the United States. A lot of that is due to cost. And a lot of that is also just due to, we have 4,000 universities in colleges in the United States. There's so many options at so many different levels that many 18, 19-year-olds in the United States just really aren't thinking about going abroad to school. So I think that is a little bit of a challenge. In terms of exchange students, at the undergraduate level, the biggest challenge that an undergraduate student would face in doing an exchange is the articulation of credits, right? Like, will those credits that they get here transfer back to the US institution? And that is very, very tricky. It is very hard to get credits to transfer from international institutions back to the United States. I was an exchange student on an exchange program that was administered through a US university, and I still had to fight to get those credits transferred to my undergraduate school. So it's a little bit tricky. Where there is a lot of space, I think, and where there is a lot of room for growth in terms of the undergraduate level is short courses or summer programs. And this is why I'm really interested in what Pak Isma was talking about with this, bringing students in from Illinois or bringing students in from other universities to the United States or to Indonesia for a short course, because there's a lot of room for students to kind of make time for that either in the summer or in the winter. There's a lot of like December, January courses, or there's a lot of time in the schedule for students in January to come and do kind of a study abroad program somewhere. And that's where you can have, if you already have faculty exchanges, those faculty can bring their students over and work on a specific program, maybe a research project, or maybe do a 2-week intensive language course or social studies course or something like that here. I think there's a lot of room for growth there. And I think there's a lot of room to incorporate those exchange students into daily activities and life on your campus. At the graduate level, students in graduate school are really looking for faculty to work with, and they're looking for specific research interests. So, for example, I met someone yesterday, 2 days ago in Malang, an American who's studying at Brawijaya, I think, in social linguistics. And so, I mean, it is definitely possible to get US students coming in. I think if you have the field that they're interested in, if you have the faculty that they're interested in working with, then I think that you can advertise to them and come and have them come here. I think one good organization to network on finding potential graduate students to come into Indonesia is the APHIS network, where that's the network where higher education institutes that have kind of Indonesian studies or have an interest in Indonesia already, and who want to increase partnerships. So they're going to have some students who are also very interested in that. And then in terms of just short-term graduate exchange, I think, again, there's a lot of opportunity for like short-term research courses, short-term study abroad programs, particularly if they're led by faculty. But even if they're not, just offering visiting scholar slots to master's or PhD programs to work on a specific research issue. I think there's a lot of interest for that. And there are some scholarships available both through the US Department of State and also through local universities for graduate students to get research funding to come overseas. So there is space for that. Yeah. I don't know if that fully answered your question. Yeah, a lot of it depends.
Oke, bagaimana Ibu Ambar? Apakah jawaban dari Ibu Mary sudah mencukupi?
Yes, I think that's necessary. That's good, and I get all the answer I need. Thank you very much, Mary and Bu Amir.
Sama-sama Bu Ambar. Kita ada 4 pertanyaan lagi, 2 langsung di Zoom dan 2 di chat. Mungkin saya serahkan kepada Pak Asra. Pak Asra, silakan.
Okay, thank you, Pak Amira. Good morning, Bu Mari and Pak Iman. I am Asra. I'm from Universitas Airlangga, Surabaya, and I'm from medical faculty. So thank you very much, Bu Mari, for your very great presentation and many, new knowledge, new information for us. Very good information. You know that in my experience, for medical science, it's a little bit difficult compared with some social or cultural science. So this is really great. Make some difficulty for us to make some collaboration. Yes, we have some informal collaboration with some faculty in the United States, but I found that it's very difficult to get more, more higher collaboration. So continue the first question. So I just want to know how maybe US Embassy or from other institutions can help about this. So if we already make some collaboration is there, we have to report to embassy or some other institution that maybe can help to, you know, to help us how we can make some more greater collaboration, because, you know, for medical faculty, I think I'm agree with Bu Mary. Some legal or some you know, some regulation is a little bit difficult for us. Thank you. That's all from me. Thank you. Yes.
Sure. Yeah, there are a lot of regulatory and legal hurdles, I think, for visiting scholars and faculty in the field of medicine. But there are exchange programs that allow medical faculty and students to come over as observers, and through J1 programs, and have them come in not to practice medicine, but to sit in a hospital, to sit in a residency program in the United States for a short term and observe. Those programs do exist, and I know many of the large teaching hospitals in the United States have programs for that. In terms of how to find those programs and how to connect with them, we do at the US Embassy have a CDC office that has great connections back with NIH and with many other organizations in the United States looking at medicine and public health here in Indonesia. So that's one place to start. And I think actually, Pak Iman, you said that you have some joint programs and joint research with with Baylor, right? Baylor College of Medicine. Can you talk about how you've made that successful?
Yeah, that's one of our alumni working there. So in this December, we are going to establish our US chapter alumni. So hopefully, therefore, we hope that our alumni in the US can also support us to connect with the industry. So I think there are some of our alumni working in US medical institution, Pasra. So we can help. I mean, we can help to connect with them. Yeah, that's the way how we plan, Mary. Because at the moment, I think we need to have our specific product that we want to offer to our partners, right? Yeah. So if we, I mean, in Erlangga Global Engagement, we change our perspective from the programs and to become our products. So if we call products, I mean, the way how we sell the product, it likes, I mean, the culture is different if we offer a programs. So we call it products to help, I mean, a better mindset for our staff to sell the programs. So, and also with our alumni, we are trying to offer some of our products to be connected with the institution in the US. Thank you, Mary.
Okay. Thank you, Iman.
And also, I mean, just thinking about like, what are the specific health issues that you and your College of Medicine here are facing that maybe US institutions are not facing in terms of infectious diseases or something that is specific to tropical climates? I think looking at like what unique things that you have to offer here and trying to find faculty who are interested in that overseas and then bringing them in. Sometimes it's easier to bring them here to do visiting scholarships or visiting talks than it is to send people over.
Okay, thank you, Bu Mary.
Yeah.
Iman, thank you. Yes.
I see Bu Suryani.
Yes, thank you, Ibu Mary and Pak Iman. I think we can go to Ibu Suryani Salim from Universitas Ciputra.
Hello,
Please,
how are you? Thank you, Ibu Amira. Hi, Mary. Thank you for being here. I just want to let you know that we have a winter school that is actually conducted by our lecturer, Pak Henry, coming from Florida State University. So I would like to know how to get connected with your network to offer this kind of program, because winter school is about how to build a culture performance to be a wonderful. We are very keen in terms of entrepreneurship tagline. So we would like to have a network from your side. Hopefully that university in US can have the same interest in culture exchange. Thank you.
Yeah. The best way to connect with us is to connect with my colleagues here at Education USA with Bu Amira and Bu Ambar. And we can help connect you with some of the schools and some of the higher education institutes who have reached out to us to find new partners in the United States or in Indonesia, sorry. And then I think also, going to the international conferences and connecting with the study abroad programs at different universities in the United States and kind of pitching your programs, or as Pak Imam would call them, your products to them so that they are aware of them is one way to go about kind of building up that awareness of the winter school. I know that so for US students, getting the time to do a full semester abroad or a full year abroad is very difficult right now, given just how oversubscribed a lot of schools are. And I think with the pandemic, that will kind of compound those issues. So finding winter schools or summer schools and options for them to come and do these short-term exchanges is a good idea. I think also in terms of cultural exchange, again, going into the APHIS network and finding US institutions who already have a strong interest in studying Indonesia and presenting your programs to them would help to generate some interest and at least let people know that your programs are here and available.
Thank you, Mary. This is an online program actually, so we understand
it's all online?
that. Yes, the pandemic are really difficult, so we send some team to take videos in the candi and do the topeng. So we put in together in a very nice video, and we hope the end of the performance would be all students from all over the world, singing the same song like Asisi Noya, things like that. It will be very beautiful, hopefully to encourage people during pandemic that cannot go out, things like that. Yeah, we have very difficulty in traveling far away, not to say the economic downturn, but I think creating culture exchange would be a very nice thing to do together.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I will follow your suggestion.
Sure. And I know that there are institutions here within Indonesia that are also actively working on cultural exchange. So for example, Bina Antarbudaya, US Indo, some of the CSIS, FCPI think tanks, they're also working on these kind of cultural exchange issues. So, reaching out to them and letting them know and letting them spread the word through their networks is a good idea.
Yes, we are collaboration program with Universitas International Batam and one university in Malaysia create this event. So hopefully we can reach out to USA because the Pak Henry is coming from Florida State University Performance and Art Master degree. So doctoral degree. So I think that kind of connection can be built starting from there because we haven't got any dual degree with USA university other than only summer with some of the California Davis, we have that. Yeah, we have several, but only for summer. And it looks like it's always, we have to send our student there. So our government asking how about the foreign student that came, maybe that with online, it can be smoothing things up within this time. It's very difficult to travel.
Yeah.
Thank you for your advice. Very nice to get connected. Thank you, Ibu Amira.
Terima kasih banyak, Ibu Suryani. Kayaknya kita nggak punya banyak waktu, but we do have 3 questions in the chat. So let me start with the first one. And I think with this question, it kind of like really referring to both Pak Iman and Mary. So this question is actually from Pak Yusnimar from Politeknik Negeri Lok Sumawe. The question is, if we want to develop partnership with the US university, so which university that you will suggest maybe the easiest one? This is going to be their first time trying to collaborate with USHCI. And like there's a continued question out of that, since they have like a very limited funding, so they really need an external fund support. So this is probably going to be a question to Mary, is like, does Fulbright provide funding for lecturers and students? So leaving it big to Professor Iman first to probably can answer the question from Pak Yusnimar. Silakan Pak Iman.
Thank you, Bu Amira. Thank you, Pak Yusnimar from Polytechnic Negeri Lok Sumawi. So basically, my suggestion will be, I think it depends on your products. Yeah. So we don't look at top universities or top 100, over 100. It depends on what our product that we want to offer. If it's only a kind of demand and supply. If we have some offer, and also any university in US also have the needs for that one, I think it will we can create the collaborations. Yeah. So therefore, I strongly suggest maybe you can analyze from the Polytechnic Negeri Lok Sumawi. What is the uniqueness from the Polytechnic Negeri of Lok Sumawi? You can start from the very simple event, inviting related scholars that are related to the expertise of your polytechnic, and then invite them to become speakers. From that collaboration, you can talk about more comprehensive, as Mary said, like more complex collaborations. Yeah. So we do from the easiest one. And I would like to add for I think the first questions. Indonesian government, represented by the Ministry of Education, now focus on the memorandum of agreement, and also implementation of agreement rather than memorandum of understandings. Yeah, if you look at the ranking of the university, the percentage of MOU is only 20%. If the university has MOA or IA implementation agreement, the percentage will become 40%. It's double. Yeah, so they're trying to look at the implementation of the agreement rather than the documents. So I think every university, we need to have a specific legal document that can support our achievement of the ranking. So the simple one is making implementation agreement. If you invite someone from the US university or other university, prepare the implementation agreement. If you have any exchange program, prepare the implementation agreement. And if you have like a bigger program, you can provide the memorandum of agreement. Based on our experience at Airlangga University, not all universities are interested to have an MOU. Yeah, they prefer to have a collaboration first. Yeah, just make it an implementation agreement. And if we have a consistent collaboration, and we have a quite big, size of collaboration, then we can talk about MOU. Thank you, Bu Amira.
Terima kasih banyak, Professor Iman. Mary, you probably can answer on the funding that might get from the US government.
Yeah, so we offer a couple of different options. So through Fulbright, there are visiting scholar programs, visiting PhD programs, visiting master's programs. Those are open usually about once a year, and they are very highly competitive. So it's if it's something that you are interested in, reach out to our colleagues at AMINEF. AMINEF is the organization that administers Fulbright on behalf of the US government here in Indonesia. They have a number of different information sessions throughout the year on the different funding mechanisms that they have through Fulbright, and can provide additional resources for you. I would also look at LPDP and see what kind of resources might be available through LPDP to send students or faculty to the United States, ResPro, for sending faculty to the US for short-term research. I think that these kinds of faculty and student exchanges really do lay the groundwork for further research. Joint research lays the groundwork for the next step. I mean, it's really like building on these steps, step by step, to create a successful partnership. And I completely agree with what Pak Iman said about, you know, having an implementation agreement, having an actual program that you're going to do, a very specific program, is much more important than just having the MOU that says we're friends, but we don't really do anything together. But most universities in the United States are really trying to move away from that model because nothing really happens. But I would suggest, get in touch with Pak Iman and ask, about the specifics of how they looked through their faculty data, because I'm incredibly impressed by just your awareness of what's going on in your campus and what your faculty are doing. And I think that's a really difficult step. So reach out to one another to talk about how you can evaluate what's going on your campus, and then build from those connections that you already have.
Okay, thank you so much, Mary. And I think we have the last two questions on chat. There's like, one second, there's a first one actually from Lina Purianti at Erlangga. So I think this question is really more specific to you, Mary. It's like, I heard that due to the changing on geopolitical interests of the US to Southeast Asia, and then it's like many Indonesian students in US now are closed. I mean, probably it's not like accepted or something. This is what I'm referring to. So is it true? And they require to know if the situation also influenced the opportunity for the Indonesian scholars, especially in humanities and social sciences, to engage through the joint research or publication with US counterparts.
So because of the pandemic, a lot of universities in the United States have been closed, and a lot of the international students have not been able to travel to the United States, international scholars and whatnot. I wouldn't say that though that things are closed. I think there's still a lot of collaboration. I think there's still a lot of partnerships that have shifted to the virtual environment, or things that have been postponed until after the pandemic ends. Hopefully, inshallah, this year we'll be able to start these like in-person programs again. I think in terms of geopolitical interest, I think there's still a very, very strong interest in Southeast Asia from the United States. I think that many universities, many corporations, definitely the US government, is interested in strengthening partnerships with Indonesia, with ASEAN in general, because of the current geopolitical situation. And so I think actually that right now is a very good time to try and reach out and showcase what Indonesia has to offer to the United States in terms of research, in terms of market share, in terms of political support. So I wouldn't say that right now things are closed, and I wouldn't say that right now things are shifting away from Indonesia. I would say very much the opposite, that there is a strong interest in ASEAN and Southeast Asia, and that many US universities are trying to expand partnerships, but they are really trying to expand them in more specific and more practical ways in terms of actual programs being implemented and actual exchanges happening. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Mary. So I think the last question that we have in the chat is from Bapak Aris Munandar from Unira, Universitas Islam Raden Rahmat in Malang. So this is probably going to be like a question for both Pak Iman and Mary again. What are your suggestions for our plan to have academic cooperation, such as joint researches and programs on Islamic studies or Islamic education? The university has a strength in Islamic education, distinguishes on the peace education. So probably Pak Iman has some suggestion. First one before we go with Mary. Go ahead.
Thank you, Bu Amira. Thank you, Pak Aris. Like I mentioned before, we are connecting the dots, basically. Connecting the dots. There are some institutions that have funding, some institutions have the expertise, and some institutions have the another expertise. And we are trying to connect our best talent from our university, and also best talent from other universities, like in US. The first thing that we need to know our strength first. Yeah. Even though you are already specific in Islamic education or Islamic study, there are a lot of sub-subject from the Islamic studies. Which part that you are trying to build? Yeah. So after you know the sub-subject, the specific categories that you are trying to build, let's think about the form of collaborations. Yeah. I think research collaboration is one of the easiest, not always easy, but one of the easiest products or programs that we can collaborate, because we only need to connect one person to one person. Yeah, that's the main point. So if you already have a specific knowledge about the strength of from Unira Malang and a specific person that you want to connect, the remaining things that you are trying to find who is the best person that you can connect. Not necessarily the top scientists there, but you can make a layers like tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. You can start from tier 2 maybe. Yeah, if you cannot achieve, you can try to go to tier 3 list. Yeah. From this type of collaboration, I think you can have a good connection, because once the collaboration is successful, you can continue with another successful in following years. Yeah, but I think if you want to explore the possibility of joining doing a joint research, you can try to invite them as a speaker first. Yeah, trying to invite them as a speaker, because it's easier only inviting one person, not connecting with the others. Yeah. So you can, you can prepare the event, you can invite all over university in Indonesia, not only Indonesia, in Asia maybe. Yeah, and then you can run the program and you can explore the collaboration, because many initiatives are failed from my experience, because the demand and supply does not meet. Yeah, so it's very important to know what we have and what they need, or what they have and what we need. That's the main point. Thank you, Amira.
Terima kasih banyak, Pak Iman. That's very helpful, I think, even for every single one of us in here. And Mary, do you have anything to add on that question?
No, I agree 100%.
Okay, I think we kind of already covering all the question and answer this morning. I know this is very interesting topic that it's becoming like a lot of interest buat rekan-rekan juga di Indonesia. Tapi kita unfortunately waktunya terbatas karena kebetulan juga hari ini hari Jumat. Tapi sebelumnya saya mau mengucapkan banyak terima kasih kepada Profesor Iman dan AGE Unair yang kita sudah bisa menjalankan kolaborasi hari ini. Mudah-mudahan ke depannya kita akan bisa banyak melakukan kolaborasi lagi dengan sekolah-sekolah yang lain. Terima kasih juga untuk semua rekan-rekan. Sebelum kita akhiri workshop pagi ini, ada 2 yang mau saya minta dari rekan-rekan semua. Tolong di fill in attendance list yang sudah Ambar masukkan di dalam chat supaya kita bisa mendapatkan kontak kalian. Dan tadi yang seperti Ibu Suryani dan Ibu Anggun juga bilang, kalau perlu lebih lanjut atau kontak, please do reach out to me. I do believe that every single one of you has my contact. Terima kasih Pak Aris. Dan sebelum itu mungkin kita mau ada group picture dulu ya Mbak? Ya. Oke. Kalau tidak berkeberatan, Bapak Ibu boleh videonya dinyalakan terlebih dahulu. Terima kasih. Oke. Dapat? Udah? Oke. Zaki,
saya hitung ketiga ya. Oke.
Yes. Terima kasih Zaki.
1, 2, and 3. Okay, the second slide. Please turn on your camera. Okay, 1, 2, and cheers. Thank you, Mbak.
Oke, terima kasih sekali lagi semuanya. Semoga kita semua selalu diberi kesehatan dan tidak berakhir di sini, dan kita bisa saling berkomunikasi lebih lanjut dan melakukan banyak kolaborasi lagi ke depannya. Sekali lagi terima kasih banyak Profesor Iman dan AGE Universitas Airlangga. Insya Allah ketemu lagi dalam waktu dekat. Nggak cuma sekali ini aja. Terima kasih Bu Anggun, Bu Suryani. Please let us know if you need anything else. Dan rekan-rekan semua sekalian. Terima kasih. Selamat hari Jumat.
Thank you, Bu
selamat akhir
Amira.
pekan.
Stay safe.
Sama-sama Bu Anggun. Thank you, Mary.
Thank you, bye
Mary,
all.
Bu Amira.
Thank
Bye
you.
bye.
Bye.
Everyone. Mas Rian, terima kasih banyak.
Thank you. Bye.
Semua.
Terima kasih semua. Terima kasih.
Terima kasih banyak. Terima kasih Pak Irwan, Pak Irfan. Thank you Dina. Kita teruskan ini program-program lainnya ya. Jangan lupa program-program lainnya.
Yes, of course. We will. Bye.
Ya, terima kasih.
Pamit dulu. Bye, Bu Mary.
Yes.
Bye. Thank you again so
Bye.
much.
Why my thing is not? Oh my God, this is so bad.